everybody, and welcome back to another Wuthering Waves video. Today we are going to be talking about the star of the show and the star attraction of it all, Aemeath and the Exostrider. That's right, my friends. Wuthering Waves has released a significant lore drop regarding the Exostrider, really just compiling all the lore that we learned in the last 3.0 quest into one place, as well as some tidbits about Aemeath and her resonator report. So I read it so you don't have to, and we'll get started in just a moment. But before I get to that, I would like to give once again a big shout out to all of y'all, because these two videos that I released in the last few days have been doing super duper well. You guys are still giving me comments about the transducer video as well as the spending event, because obviously you guys are very passionate about the topic, and I do appreciate you guys continuing to support these videos. And of course, it's not perfect. This section right here, 2 minutes and 4:16, I have it says read the pinned comment. I made a mistake. This is not the correct infographic. I messed up while I was putting it all the way out, and now it is out there, and now I need to fix it. So like I've already said before, I am working on the fix, and I will do my best to do it. And if you are kindly correcting me in the comment section, I have no issue with that. I got information wrong, let me fix it. But until then, that is going to be the first priority for this week, because we have a lot of other things that I want to talk about when it comes to this week. Because additionally, you know, outside of this, I would also like to stream Enfield this weekend. So if you're taking a look at my community posts, be sure to check out when we are streaming Enfield, because I would stream Wuthering Waves, but I have nothing to do. The only thing I have left is endgame content, and I don't think you guys want to watch me do that. So we're going to be doing Enfield this weekend. And last but not least is of course the actual patch release date. That is February 5th, so that is 5 days away as of recording this video. So from that time, we will be doing the quest not live immediately, because as I usually do, as I always tell you guys, I always wait at least 1 to 2 days or even more before we do the quest. Why? Because I want to give you guys the opportunity to play it before you start you know, coming out to watch streamers. Because doing it on day one, and first off, the patch releases at a terrible time for me, but second, like, I can wait. I have patience to wait, so you guys have the opportunity to play before I do. And last but not least, after I get all of this graphics sorted out, I do want to make one more video by the 5th, and we'll see how that comes through. But this comes first, and then Enfield, and then making a new video. So with that all out of the way, I hope you guys have a relative idea of what we're going to be doing in the coming week. And I do appreciate your guys' patience with me, because this has been a lot to deal with, especially when you guys are having more and more comments, you know, asking questions about like, hey, I want to do this for the spending event, hey, I have this question about transducers. But again, overall, thank you for the support. It is so appreciated on this channel, you know, and I really do appreciate you guys enjoying what I'm putting out there. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive back into the lore with Aemeath and the Exostrider herself. And I mean, man, look, first off, she got her ID card. Lucilla is sitting dead in a ditch, bro. Lucilla got nothing. Sergika even got content, and she got nothing. It's crazy, bro. And of course, we have just a small video here. We are going to read mostly the lore, but I do want to showcase this just for a second, because she does say very obviously this time around who she is. Dude, and listen, how can I not love her, bro? Just wait for it, okay? She has a double-bladed lightsaber. Bro, that's so fire. Like, I knew it was like a sword. What is it? But the fact that she flourishes around and turns it into a double-bladed dude, it's over for me. The hottest girl in the universe has a double-bladed lightsaber and a mecha. It's over. All right, enough yapping. Let's actually get to the meat and potatoes, that being the Exostrider and of course the resonance evaluation report. We'll be over here for that, but I have opened these all up into specific tabs, and just keep in mind, these are things that we do learn from the 3.0 quest, and also just like reading. Like, someone's like over here, it's like, hey, this lore is in the game, by the way. Yes, I do agree with you, the lore is in the game, by the way, but it is good to have this all in one place, so that people who are preparing for 3.1 have a chance to kind of read it over and understand you know, the extra little tidbits. So let's go ahead and start with the Exostrider themselves. The ancient mech slumbering in the Roi Frostlands. Current research suggests that the Exostriders and the Sentinels were created with technology from the same civilization. Current archives of Roi and Tales speak of the Exostrider who descended through the Strider Gate, buried deep within Lahai-Roi. Down along its trail came Thernotian one Aemeath. The two crashed in a fierce battle, and at last the Exostrider sealed Aemeath one within the Strider Gate itself. The Exostrider then drove its greatsword into the earth to hold up Lahai-Roi and the Roi Frostlands above. In the distant expansion passed, Roy of Frostland became Solaris's new pole, following the first lament ever recorded, when its once lush forests were transformed into an endless ice sheet. When the second recorded lament struck, the Roy of Frostlands, the 31 Aemeath, having arrived alongside the Exostrider, unleashed a void storm to counter devastation caused by the overflow of void matter. The Exostrider shed its own components and transformed them into Exoswarm, restoring Lahai-Roi's damaged ecology, and it also guided the royal tribe to relocate their settlements in Lahai-Roi beneath the frozen expanse. So this is super interesting because, again, this is lore in game, but if we want to kind of break down what we're seeing here, number one is that the two parts of the lament is that, number one, if it's not very obvious, now this is not the best explanation for it, but you know, Rover has reset themselves many times to try and figure out a solution to the lament always happening, because you can't kill a Thernodian. It doesn't die. You can throw as many like crazy powers at it, but it's always going to come back so long as society persists. Additionally, we also get to talk about not only the Exostrider, which we already knew, hey, it's pretty obvious, is an extraterrestrial thing, but it's also you know, created by the Sentinels, or at least from the same civilization of sort. And I mean, hey, that's pretty cool, and I think it was pretty obvious that it was going to be some sort of otherworldly being, but it also came down with Aleph 1, which is going to be super interesting, because you wonder if there is sort of a society or civilization of Sentinels that originally came from here. And if you don't know, all the Sentinels have a spaceship that come here. Did they also bring the Thernodian with them? Are they themselves the taint on society? Because obviously over here, this Exostrider is not a Sentinel. It is just a Sentinel, or you know, possibly adjacent Sentinel creation, and yet here comes the Thernodian crashing down at the same time. Is it a coincidence or not? That is kind of something that we'll have to figure out you know, through that, because my personal opinion is that the Exostrider is not something that is going to be should be considered a Sentinel in the slice, even if it has you know, near godlike powers, or you know, has a lot of mass. It's just not the type of thing that I really think should be considered a Sentinel, because a Sentinel has a lot more abilities on top of just, you know, being a big robot basically. But moving on to the next page itself, and this one's super interesting. So the Exostrider reactor drive is the next page. Oh yes, okay, all right. The Exostrider drive serves as the primary energy source for the Exostrider. The Exostrider removed it and used it as a sun to nourish Lahai-Roi, and then guided the Royal tribe that relocated from the Frostland surfaces to Lahai-Roi, deprived of its drive. The Exostrider entered a dormant state. So yeah, this is where the you know, reactor drive, this is the entire plot of the second half of 3.0, where it's like, hey, the reactor drive is dying, we need to reawaken it. The artificial sun, so this is the new you know, new solar project. To counter the threat of the Thernodian, the Space Trek Collective proposed the new solar project, a plan to replace the core of the Exostrider drive with an artificial sun and return the restored reactor drive to the Exostrider vessel, repair its systems, and awaken it once more. So yeah, this is all stuff that we already know. Again, this is just a recap of 3.1 or 3.0 before we move into the sun. Now this one's a little interesting because there's some wording here that we can definitely talk about that is not quite you know, what I expected to see you know, in here, but is very important if you've been paying attention to the lower Wuthering Waves. Exoswarm. The Exostrider scanned records of Lahai-Roi's former fauna using its own mechanical parts and differentiated them into new forms. These mimetic organisms were created to stabilize and strengthen Lahai-Roi's fragile ecology. The void storm triggered by the Thernodian is capable of eroding and consuming Exoswarm entirely. And of course, just down here to quickly go over it, the Heliogyre, and this is the kind of the big piece of the Roya tribe, and something that we're going to learn a little bit more about once Sergica comes out. But the Roya tribe uses the lens Heliogyre, a relic gifted by the Exostrider, to observe the Exostrider's drive, calculate its trajectory, and predict the onset of void storm, and provide critical data to the Space Trek Collective and the new solar project. Yes, so this is obviously a protection you know, from the void storm. There are a bunch of void storm towers, and then the, you know, Heliogyre gives the calculations, and then the actual sun itself you know, fends off, you know, this sort of thing. Now what I have to know interesting about this is that this is the most important thing. You'll notice that when they talk about Thernodians, that Thernodians have a very specific language in how they kind of talk about what their main goal is, because, you know, Thernodians, obviously they're, you know, freako beings of mass destruction, but they do actually speak in very specific ways, and it kind of gives you a not only notion to, you know, their main motivation, but also how they kind of take over the world. And this one, the void storm, is capable of eroding and consuming, and this makes a lot of sense, of course, because Aleph 1 is a giant black hole, so, and it came from space too. So I mean, hey, eroding and consuming is really interesting, because if you looked at how Exostriders kind of act, or not Exostrider, Exoswarm form kind of act in game. You see their eyes turn red, you're like, oh my goodness, they're corrupted. But corruption is not really what these what is not really what you know is happening here. Is actually erosion, so a different kind. Obviously, you know, you get similes, right? But it is a very different type of, you know, mind control or takeover of the waveforms, or, you know, beings that are made out of, you know, beings that are made you know, from those kind of abilities. Because when you talk about something like Leviathan talks about, or at least, you know, if we reel all the way back to Imperador's first command is command, unify, and ascend, and then of course that's their ability to split matter and merge matter. And then when we talk about the Thernodian, you know, in that case Leviathan, that's going to be their whole thing about assimilating and or actively you know, trying to make things whole with them. So that's kind of the big deal there. And of course there's also the one, you know, there's Overthrax and Jinjo. They didn't have a lot of lines, but they did kind of give you the idea. It's like, you know, like the mother needs weapons, you know, of sorts. And it does have the same thing where it does copy weapons, which is a little bit of a, you know, plot flub you know, from Wuthering Waves, but, you know, no big deal. It's the point is that every Thernodian has a very different way of speaking when it comes to talking about how they take over the world, basically. And this is cool because, you know, when it comes to the black hole, it's actually very distinct that they do talk about consuming and eroding instead of, you know, some basic corruption or whatnot. So that's really cool, and I do like that they have that little tidbit of lore. And I do hope that's a consistent thing that comes through all Thernodians, because all Thernodians should not be the same. They should have the same goal, but should not be you know, the same in how they try to eat the world, basically. And the last one is the soul skin. Now this is actually good because I did not pay attention to the soul skin quest. I'm gonna be so real. It was okay. I sure did watch it, and I sure did absorb it. But among the Exostrider exists a special lineage known as the soul skin. Beings differentiate from the Exostrider's neurons. Soul skin are born with innate knowledge, and upon awakening journey to the Solicium to choose their own shepherd or shepherdess. Royal shepherds and shepherdess nurture the soul skin, ensuring their healthy growth and proper absorption of energy. Once fully matured, soul skin return to the body of the Exostrider so that they can help restore the Exostrider form and blank. So these are, you know, I think these are things from the actual festival itself, and I'm kind of blanking on what they are. But yeah, like, so these are kind of like neurons, and it's the entire thing about the Exostrider and how it's kind of not completely embedded into the you know, ecosystem of Lahai-Roi and the underground section, but it's kind of like it's literally letting its life pour out. Because as we kind of saw in this first post here, is that because the entire poles, you know, the frostland used to be grass, and now you know, it's completely frosted over, so it literally used its own parts you know, to kind of make a new life down here. It's very very, you know, guys, you guys know, I mean, this is where my icon is from. Very bionicle in this sense of, you know, a giant robot, you know, sustaining life inside of itself in order to, you know, let the ecosystem keep living on. And that's super cool when it comes to that entire situation. It also implies you know, when the Exostrider came down, that Solaris 3 may have been a completely blank planet and there were no poles, but it seemed to have added a new pole, or at least move the poles in some way on the surface of Solaris 3, so that it literally destroyed an entire ecosystem, which is crazy, by the way. But yeah, that's gonna be a lot of the fun stuff that we get to see with this. I mean, the Soliskin, you know, as much as they're weird green blobs, they're the neurons. They're the people that feed information out you know, towards the outside, and then feed it back of course to the Exostrider itself. So that's pretty fun and dandy. But the last thing I want to talk about, of course, is Aemeath herself. Now I'm not going to read everything because I do feel like that there's a lot of stuff here that should be touched inside the story. Of course, you have the opportunity to read this. You can find the website link. I can post it in the description. But gosh dang it, Kuro Games, I know, I love the double-bladed lightsaber. I love looking at animations, okay? But they used to put these resonator reports and lore reports up front and center, and now they kind of put the short, which makes sense. I mean, come on, the short is what people are looking for. But there is a lot of cool lore and tidbits of character in here. But again, I'm not reading this part because this should be in the story, and if it's not in the story, I will be very sad. But we are going to read the part that, you know, a lot of people don't get to read, and that is the resonance evaluation report. This is always found in the character bio, and this tells you how they obtain their powers and how they work. So retrieving the Space Trek Collective archive, Star Torch Academy student records, Sure, buddy. We're gonna see that's not the case in a minute. But student name Aemeath, sync with coordination confirmed. The subject's rebel curve exhibits a steady upward trend converging into a stable oscillatory state. Based on the current parameters, the subject is classified as a natural resonator. The detected Tesla mark is located in the thoracic region. Yep. All right. And then of course the actual thing itself, because you know Aemeath, she's not really real anymore. According to the personal records submitted to prior enrollment and subject self-report, the individual well, unfortunately this report no longer holds much resonant value. After all, it's a record when I was still alive, so allow me to supplement it myself. At present, I am a synchronous to the Exostrider. Compared to before, my tacit mark has undergone noticeable change. Its state is not particularly stable. As for my abilities, I can manifest a mech and synchronize it with it directly. In simpler terms, yes, I transform to ensure combat efficiency. I've also designed self-operating logic framework for the unit. The current simulation results are pretty promising. Synchronization feels smooth and it allows for more effective utilization for the laser's coverage range. Additionally, I'm capable of entering data systems in the form of a digital ghost. That being said, this may not strictly qualify as part of my resonance ability. It's more like a byproduct in a special state during synchronization. What is it? So I think because there's a dash, that it may mean that just it's Aemeath talking about that, and you know she's been erased from existence, so she can't really say her name out there. That's odd. This student's file is corrupted, or it's nothing but data errors. The missing synchronist, I see. Reported represent to Lucilla. And call her 007. 0 story appearances, 0 art shown, 7 mentions in the lore. Kuro Games, stop it. I don't even like Lucilla like that, but you gotta stop doing that to her, bro. Like she this is so many times she gets mentioned in game and in these things, and then it's just like, bruh, like it's just like, yeah, that's kind of crazy, bro. Rebel's waveform test sample analysis shows elliptical fluctuations and stable time domain. Normal fluctuations were observed. Examination result were determined with the normal parameters. Diagnosis: resonant critically is within normal range. Subject stability remains robust. No history of present risk or overclocking. Psychological counseling is currently deemed unnecessary. Aemeath, she's been stable throughout the academy for years. Still, we should keep a closer eye on her mental state. If anything changes, psychologically intervention must be initiated immediately. But she always seems so cheerful. That's exactly what we watched. Not to interfere. If this is the life she's chosen, we respect it. We'll just do our part as teachers. Okay, interesting. So this is some teacher, possibly President Lucilla. I doubt it, considering that she's not in the plot. But talking about, like, she's literally so normal. Like, this is the most normal you know, overclock diagnostic, you know, if for whatever reason you were able to like tweak out and start overclocking. But it's a possibility that we don't know what, you know, Aemeath sort of changed. You know, if you remember from the trailer, she has a normal tacit mark and then now it becomes a heart. If this is a second awakening, if this is a new kind of resonance or resonation, I don't think that's not a word, but a new kind of way to resonate with something, because definitely it's different than everything else. But I'm leaning more towards the fact that this is probably her second awakening, but it's not quite complete of the sorts, because she's clearly noting herself that, you know, I feel unstable, you know, in this state, and also I'm literally dead, so that's awesome. But yes, that is Aemeath's resonant evaluation report. And again, there's a lot more stuff in here. You can read it for yourself if you'd like, but I do think that's going to be stuff in the story. But it's actually really interesting because Aemeath, and of course this could just be how they're presenting it, you know, in this page, but they're trying to do a really hard job at making her seem like she's just kind of normal. And I mean, I can agree with that, because she's always wanted to be a normal girl, but obviously you know, being a ghost, you know, having the freaky tasking mark, you are far from normal. You are far from normal, Bessie. There's something going on. But that is gonna be basically it. Once again, 0 mention, zero character model, 0 art, 7 mentions in game. Lucilla takes the cake. Oh my goodness, stop doing this to her. But that is gonna be it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, we have a pretty big plans, you know, in the coming week. We have a lot to cover and a lot for me to do, but I do hope you guys leave a like and subscribe and stick around for all the other content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.